there have been so many people that have been involved in this exhibition over the years, too many to even put on the wall, and I'm just so grateful for everybody. So thank you so much, and now I'd like to pass it off to our friends over at Vintage House.
Hello, everyone. Thank you again for coming to this fantastic exhibit. We are so proud to elevate the history of house music. We have attempted to make sure that all of the people who were instrumental in making sure that house music became a global phenomenon are included in this exhibit. Keep in mind that this is a living exhibit. This is an active exhibit. You can go to chicagohomeofhouse.info right now and make any recommendations. Did we leave your story out? We want to hear it. We want to know about that. Ephemera, if you have any pictures, we are happy to have that information and check it out and see if we can add to this living exhibit. So please go to chicagohomeofhouse.info. I'm Lauren Lowry. I'm the executive director of the Vintage House Show, and we are on every Wednesday night, 10 p.m. on WNUR 89.3 FM, WNUR.org, and Twitch.com, Facebook, YouTube, VintageHouseShow.tv. We're everywhere, Wednesday nights, 10 o'clock. The fantastic people behind me are the co-hosts of the show, the incomparable DJ Lori Branch. And Kevin Mega McFall. And the man of the hour. You should know that in 2011, this man was instrumental in creating a document that highlighted the 100 architects of house, maybe 100 plus architects of house music, which, as we know today, is so important. We have to document our own stories. Yes. And he did that in 2011. We're so proud that he allowed us to display this in this exhibit today. That is DJ Terry Hunter. On with the podcast.
All right. Thank you all for being here. We have so many luminaries in the house. I'm scared to start naming names, but I do see Mr. George Daniels over here somewhere. We wouldn't be here without him. You hold it down for us. You held it down for so many. You continue to do that. So thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Yes, so I won't stop right there. Okay, we won't leave it at George, but I love all of you. Thank you for being here. Kevin, you want to kick us off?
I will. And again, big thanks to everyone who came out this evening. Know that it doesn't stop tonight. The history of house goes on forever. But we've got that timeline from 1978 to
2023.
2023. That's right. 72. Thank you. My math was off a little bit. I was a math major. But I'm not going to take any more time without introducing our esteemed guest, DJ Terry Hunter. He's both friend. We are fans of one another. Me more so than him. We go a long way back, and I just want to credit him with enabling me to do the one and only remix I've ever done on a record, Kathy Summers, When I Fell in Love, with UBQ Productions. Yeah. So thank you again for that. I'll be thanking you for a lifetime for that opportunity. But this gentleman is a 3-time Grammy-nominated remixer producer. Give it up. In our midst. Grammy nominee, and we know that he's coming home with one of those trophies soon. 25 years, I think, it's been in this business. A member of the chosen few DJs, a record label owner, Tease Box and Glitter Box, Glitter Ball Records, Mirror Ball. Thank you, Randy Lee. Shout out to everyone from those various ventures with Terry Hunter and all members of the house community. Let's get into a little more about this exhibit. We thank Terry for being here, and as Lauren shared, we really appreciate the inclusion and incorporation of the architects of house. But we want to start with 40 years. 40 years being this milestone of house music that we've all come together to recognize and celebrate. And we want to know, Terry, your perspective on 40. Some people have said it's really 50 years because there's a culture that occurred before and the record was released. But let's get your perspective.
Wow. For me, I believe we would call it a house because I'm a part of the second generation, not the first generation. So for me, we would call it a house before '84. But I think we have to document it somewhere. So we started, I guess, in '84 with the release of Justice Saunders record. So for me, man, house music has been my passion, my life, my everything. And just to see us here celebrating 40 years is truly amazing. And having exhibits like this in such a monumental establishment is just to show how this music has touched so many people.
Yeah. You know, Terry, you are a historian yourself, which is one of the reasons I think you did. If you haven't had a chance to see it, it's the pillar over there that has 100, was it more than 100? 100, little more than 100 architects of house. And what that means were the DJs, the producers, the promoters, people who were instrumental in creating the architecture, you know, of this movement. I want to give a big shout out to the dancers I see in the audience too. Iris, and T. I'm gonna do shout outs on that, so just be ready. I wanted to ask you about that photo because it's really, that was an important moment. Talk about, that was sort of our day in the life of Harlem, you know, what was that one from the day in the life in Harlem picture with the jazz greats? I feel like that's our version of it. So talk about that. Why then? Why those people?
So it's funny that you said that. The idea and the concept came from, I was in Philadelphia at the time, and I'm really good friends with Jazzy Jeff. And they went to document a photo like that with all of the Philadelphia DJs mimicking that jazz photo that was taken in Harlem. And I was in the studio working at his house while he went and did it, and then I saw some of the pictures, and I was like, damn, why can't we do anything like that in Chicago? We need something like that in Chicago. And at that time, there was really no documentation of a group of us. It was just separate pictures. And I'm like, yo, I'm gonna do this. And so I was so inspired from that. I remember calling Reggie Corners at that time. And I called Zarina from McFall magazine, Frederick Dunson, and that was a picture that I obviously couldn't do myself because, again, I was the second generation. And so we put together a committee of people, and we called ourselves the Griots. And so we said we want to pay respect to the most influential DJs from 75 to 95. And so Wayne Williams came on board. I'm forgetting some people, forgive me for that, but it was myself, Reggie Corners, Wayne Williams, Alan King, Frederick Dunson, Zarina from Five, and a few other people. And so we just kind of went through the whole motion of, all right, who was influential between these years? And I was just telling Lauren, like, Lord have mercy. I'm so happy to see this now because I said to myself, we wanted to do 95 to current, and I was like, I'm done. I mean, somebody else can do it. Everybody felt that they should have been in that picture, or they felt that they contributed something, and they were coming at us pretty hard, you know what I mean? And so it was a situation like, well, listen, it's a committee of us, it's a group of us, and I think we got it right, but you know, we'll take it from 95, but we haven't gotten to that.
You know, that's an important point that you're making. Whenever you curate a piece of art, especially you have a timeline or you have pictures, there's inevitably people who are going to feel like I was a part of that story, so I'll see it reflected here. I'm guessing that was part of the challenge that you were hearing from some DJs. How do you handle that?
Listen, it was rough. It was a lot of arguments. It was a lot of disagreements. It was a lot of, it's not going to come off real, and you don't have this person, and I did this and did that, and I just felt like that we got it right for the committee that we had, because it just was not me saying. Because again, in '75 I was 5 years old, so there's no way I can tell who happened in those, did what in those years. So the people that came before me was the ones that was, and they got it right. You know, it was just, again, I get it, because now you look at this picture so monumental, it's a part of history. And so I see why people would be upset, but the facts are the facts.
And in that vein, you said it, I didn't, 5 years old, but you've been inspired then by the first generation. Can you talk about some of those who inspired your journey through house history?
Absolutely. I've been saying it recently in a lot of the interviews that I've been doing. I got into house music from my cousin, and I was named after him, Terry. And so you know Terry. So yeah. So my first involvement was he had to babysit me one day, and it was a party happening at Belmont Rocks, and it was an outside daytime situation, and he wanted to go to this event bad, and he was like, excuse me, he was like, listen, bro, you coming with me? It's an outside event, and you can go. It's you just, let's go. And so I remember going, and I'm hearing all of these records that Terry has played, my cousin and my family play at our gatherings, but I'm hearing these records mixed in and out seamlessly. And the one main thing attracted me was people were screaming this man's name like he was God. And I was like, man, how does he have this much power over people through music? And it just never stopped. And that DJ was Frankie Knuckles.
There it is.
That's how it started for me. I knew from then, I was like, I remember coming down Lakeshore Drive and calling my grandparents like, I want to be a DJ. I didn't know the first thing what I had to do, but I knew, God damn it, I wanted to be a DJ. I want to make people feel good like this, and that's how it happened.
That's amazing. I'm sure that other people may have had that experience. Who else remembers Frankie Knuckles? You were there. Like, we were there. Who went to the warehouse? The original one.
Tell the truth, tell the truth. Not the warehouse on Randolph. Yeah, we need some t-shirts. Now listen, if you didn't go to the warehouse, you were probably too young or too scared, and that's okay. Or you weren't born yet. Okay, I need to go. All right. What you say, Alice? Of course you were. Your mother was there. You know, people's parents dropped them off at the warehouse, which is odd because if you don't know what that club was, it opened at midnight. Allegedly. Allegedly it opened at midnight? We didn't get into 2 or 3, girl. I don't know. I think they had a different door for y'all. But, yes, midnight, and you got out there at 8, 9 in the morning, you know, eyes blurry, and sunlight, and it was quite a scene. I'm sorry you weren't able to go.
I was there. Winter 1981. Pappy Wilson in the building. Mingo Marna.
Yes. So let's talk a little bit about the exhibit. We're going to be here, as Kevin and Lauren mentioned, until October 1st, October 31st.
Third week in October.
3rd of October.
Yes.
And if you're just getting here and you're looking at it and you see something that is omitted, or maybe it's like the date's not right, this is an evolving project. We want the world to see this exhibit. And without naming names, we have commitments from people who can make that happen. So help us out. If you see something that's like, hey, that was like 89, but it says 88, let us know. Because we want to get it as right as possible. And we can't do that without you, because I wasn't there. I wasn't at all these places. Kevin wasn't there. You definitely weren't there in the 75. I was only like 5 years old too, so. Lies.
We're well.
Thank you.
So this exhibit, as Lauren has shared earlier, it is a living exhibit.
Yes.
And so we've taken very good care to try to curate many of the milestones that you see reflected there. But again, I'll emphasize chicagohomeofhouse.info, I-N-F-O, is where you can submit amendments, addendums.
And then we have it
updates.
here. So you see this wall behind us? Where's
Got
Rose?
all this extra space.
Rose is our, okay, can we give it up for Rose? She doesn't want to talk.
Maybe
Without
Pier.
her and maybe Pier,
Production.
she's responsible and her team for doing this. So thank you again. But she knows it. She's like, you got some empty space here. So we can make use of it. More pictures, more dates, all that.
So Terry, you've had a chance to peruse the timeline. This is actually the second iteration of Chicago Home of House. We had it at the Epiphany Center for the Arts. Tell us about some of your favorite milestones, if you can remember it.
Some of these pictures, it's like every time I see me DJing with the greatest high school T-shirt on, High Park Career Academy. That was one of my fond memories. But just seeing that, like, it's funny. I have my son here with me, and I was DJing, and he said, "Was that a real Gucci hat?" And I was like, "Hell yeah!" And it was fake as I don't know what. But also, he was asking, it was, we had tape decks up there then, and no one knows what tape decks is. Every time I see that picture with a tape deck in front of me, we used to use tape decks with pitch control on them and to play unreleased edits and stuff that we did. So every time I see that, that brings back some memories. And then also the beginning of when me and Ron Trent put out our first release in 1990, and to have that on the board, and it's really amazing. And then to have this picture, like, again, I can't get enough of seeing this picture display here. That means a lot. And again, I think Reggie, I saw him here. Big shout to him. We really worked together to put that together and make that situation right. And that picture was taken at the Shrine. We did a night at the Shrine called Bang Sundays, and that's where we got everybody to come take that photo.
Thank you, Reggie. There are a lot of people, there are a few people in that picture who are no longer with us. And one of the things that you'll see in the exhibit is that we have, one of the poles, you'll see a circular design that has names of people we've lost. And we didn't capture everybody. We had some recent losses, such as DJ Terry Bristol, rest in peace. Others, we feel free to shout their names out if you hear. Paul Johnson. And so we know that the reason we do this is because many people will pass and they won't ever be recognized. And so we have to tell this story in as many ways as possible. So one of the things you'll notice about the exhibit is we talk about publications. There's not enough of those. There's a few people who've taken the time to talk to people like Jesse Saunders, like Leonard Bridnex Roy, like Marshall Jefferson, like others who have documented this in book form. So we encourage you to get those books, to do that history, and to actually create your own. If you can write or you can interview, can help us tell this story.
And I want to give a big shout to for what you're saying. That makes this picture special is on the left side, if you're looking from this way, there's a gentleman at the end that's in that picture by the name of Frenchie. And he was an amazing DJ. He set up sound. He was the first guy that I ever known to do sound, and he passed away this morning. So RIP to Frenchie. So it's really special again to talk about this picture when you say some people have left us, and we got a chance to get Frenchie down to take that picture, and we lost that this morning. So
may Frenchie rest in peace and musical peace. But wanting to continue to keep a elevated feeling, because that's what house is, right? It's a feeling, it's elevation, it's unity. We know that everyone here tonight embodies that. And so we want to take a few questions from you all about the exhibit, about your experiences. If you have questions for DJ Terry Hunter or DJ Lori Branch or myself, feel free to pose those. So we're gonna have you come up to the stances and pose your question. We'll bring a mic over and we'll try to address any of those questions. Please speak loud.
All right. Any questions? Well, yes, Alicia. Lisa.
Hi, everybody. My name is Elisa Allen Singletary, and I started going to the warehouse in 1981. My question is, with regard to this exhibit, I do remember quite vividly that the Dance Music Foundation had an exhibit at Northwestern University quite some years ago. And then there was an exhibit at the Chicago Cultural Center, and then the Epiphany, right? And now we're here. So this is about the fourth iteration of this exhibit. What's happened so that it's evolved to where it is today? Because I remember so many more pieces, and I know display is probably a challenge and security as well. I'm just curious to know what's kind of happened to, some of those things.
You want to address that, Laura?
I donated the last plugger to the 206 party.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your donation.
Elisa, we
What
can
you
give her a
said.
hand. She's been, since 2014, you've been supportive of the Dance Music Foundation and the Fellowship. So we're so happy that you have contributed. So the Dance Music
Hold your
Foundation.
mic like this, like eat it.
The Dance Music Foundation did have a fantastic, I think one of the first things we did was an exhibit at Northwestern University. And it was great. It wasn't a timeline, however. It was probably one of the first exhibits that celebrated the artifacts. So we did have reel-to-reels there. We had machines that were at the warehouse. We highlighted a lot of the fantastic ephemera that our friends had. And so it was really just, let's get out there and see what we have and see what fantastic things we have. Then the city of Chicago moved forward with a sort of a timeline as well and a more artistic sort of contribution to an exhibit with the with the Design Museum of Chicago's help.
Yes.
There were artifacts there, and we had some artifacts. We had Greg Gray's warehouse power plant jacket. We had Lori Branch's exhibits, and then we've actually had other exhibits as well at the Old Town School of Folk Music, where we celebrated Kevin McFall and others. So we just continue to grow this exhibit. I mean, we are really desperate for everyone to understand that house music is Black music, house music is Chicago music, and house music is music history. And so however we can do that, that's what we want to do, and that's what we're continuing to do today. And with your help, it's just going to grow.
Yes, and what I'll say is, one of the reason you're not seeing that ephemera here is not every place is conducive for you putting out like Frankie Knuckles' mixer. We're not going to put it here. So there are things that we'll display here that will be different in other iterations. One of the negotiations, I can't speak to all of them, but we are talking to other venues where we can actually put the ephemera once we leave this space. Angie T? Yeah.
I got a question as Angie T tees up her question. I just want to get this public commitment when Terry Hunter, when you bring home that Grammy, we're going to be able to display that as part of the exhibit.
Absolutely.
We're claiming that.
How y'all doing?
Our
Mine is not really a question, but it's something that I think Terry can address. So a lot of questions that I get is, if you all have an exhibit and it goes back to the 70s. Why are y'all celebrating 40 years? And maybe that needs to be explained why we are celebrating 40 years of house.
Great question. We teed
Great
that
question.
up at the beginning. Right?
Yeah, and so for me, I think no one had an accurate date in the 70s. No one can say 74, 75, 76, 77. So we had to go, or not we, I wasn't a part of that, but they had to go by, which I thought was okay. It was the first recorded house music record. Chicago, there you go, Chicago musicians. And so I think that if we, from my opinion, looking back, I think everybody would say that they have a different year when house started. If I ask you, y'all all give me different years. And so I thought it was just only fitting for them to go by the first recorded house record. But we all know we was calling it house before 84.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note that the Chicago part is important. Because even when we were calling it house, we were calling all kinds of stuff house, right? We went to the warehouse, anything they played was house music. We went to music box, it was house, everything was house music. Disco, punk, rock, it was all sort of under that umbrella.
Euro disco.
But when we actually had a song that we could claim from our own community, that was 1984. Yeah. And so that's why we drew the line in the sand there. And it was, Jesse was part of that crew, as was, don't let me get started. This happens when you turn 60. Don't turn 60. Chippy, Wayne, Kurt, Vince, so many people. Yes. What you talking about? I'm proud of my age.
Yeah, she wears it well. Well, I love that question. And this is part and parcel to why the exhibit and the call for contributions, right? Your voices should be reflected here as well. And we want to ensure, again, you go to Chicago homeofhouse.info to submit those entries. But we did put a stake in the ground with the exhibit, with the 40-year celebration. I personally haven't seen as much unity in the community of house as we are witnessing in this celebration. So I think it's a good thing.
Hi, my name is Louis Green. Some people know me as DJ West Green.
Big West.
How you doing? So I guess my question is, and it's one that pretty much everybody who's here would probably know the answer to, but I want to know like how it felt back in the day, like when you first played like a big set, like your first big set, your first big set, like, and what was the difference in the parties back then and now? Like, I mean, how did it feel for you? Because I remember how I felt when I went to a party, I felt good, I felt like everybody loved everybody. I felt like, I wanted to, have a girlfriend on the dance floor. Like, I mean, everybody, it was different. But I want you guys to explain how you guys felt.
I'll start since I'm probably the oldest. Listen. My first party, like I started DJing in 1980, meaning basement parties. The first party I did was 1981. You were there. It was early, like in wintertime at Sowers. Sowers is a club on the south side. How many went to Sowers? Sawyers? And it was a battle of the DJs. So Craig Loftus, Jose Gomez, aka Louis Gomez, were part of my team. Louis taught Craig and I how to spin. And Eric Bradshaw, who was our leader of Vertigo, was our social group, was like, okay, now that you know, we're gonna have a battle and you're gonna represent us. So my first party was a lot of perspiration, a lot of shaking hands, and but it was thrilling. It was at Sowers. We sold out the place. It was like 1,000 kids there. We made a lot of money for 18-year-olds, so it was great.
So I was just whispering to Pier. I'm going next because it's going to be a whole next level as well. But my DJ career started at the University of Illinois, Champaign-Urbana, and I got to partner with the brother of dancer and community member extraordinaire, Arliss Ball. Arliss, who's purchasing something of it. But Cedric Ball, rest in peace, another of our lost community members. But we had a group in Champaign that basically DJ'd all of the University of Illinois parties from the Black Greek letter organizations to the dorms to the other Pan-Hellenic organizations. We had a monopoly on the market. And what we did that enabled us to be successful was we came up to Chicago to purchase our records, to imports. And then we also put pressure on the buyers of record stores in Champaign to buy. And we were getting WBMX feeds in our dorm so we could stay attuned to what was happening in the sounds. And so there was this one big place on campus called the Union where we got to DJ, and at the Union it was an incredible feeling to be able to put the needle on the record and ensure that we were blending. I had a few.
We call that shoes in the dryer.
I had a few of those, I'm not gonna lie, but as practice makes perfect, we eventually got it right. We being Cedric, Jerry, Jan, and McAllister, there was a host of us that we had as a collective. And I'll never forget that first union party I DJ'd.
Thank you. Terry.
For me, when Wes speaks about feeling, I came up doing high school parties. Again, Hyde Park, we were doing things like the Record Ball Club. We were doing the Hummingbird. We were doing a lot of those parties. And for me, as I was coming up in high school, I just loved to DJ, right? So the feeling was great, but I've always wanted more. I didn't, from very on seeing Frankie, the story I told you guys earlier, was that I never wanted to just be a local DJ in Chicago. And so my feeling coming up during the high school era was good, but I told this story in LA, is when I really got an overwhelming feeling in 1990 when I put my first record out. I got booked to go play in London. And that was a whole nother experience that I've never felt before. And I remember going to this club. It was a club called Heaven. That was a huge club in England at the time. And it was about 5,000 people there. And they was holding up my record in the crowd. And I had never felt like that because, you know, especially back in the 80s and 90s, it was a lot of hate going on in Chicago. People wasn't supporting. And I'm like, why do I have to go to another country for someone to appreciate me like this? And I remember just standing up behind the turntables to the point they had to shut the music off because the crowd was going absolutely insane. And that was my first feeling as being a DJ.
Okay, you can't top that. We're gonna have to wrap it up. So I'm gonna say mine and give Terry the last word after you. But I want to say that this music is never going to die. It's never going to die. It's here to stay. It's about history, but it's also about the present, and it's also about the future. And so I just want to give big ups, big props to all of you for still doing what you do to keep it alive, to stay in the party. It happens in community, and that love that we feel with each other, we missed it during COVID. No excuse now. Come out, support these DJs, support these promoters. Buy the records. Eric Welton, dude. He's like all of y'all. I'm not gonna start, but you know, all you producers. Eric, man, I was like, damn, he's just doing some shit. Okay. But anyway, we're gonna wrap up. We're gonna have time to just hang out, socialize, and I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for being my friend, for being part of the community. It is my love, my life's work, and I couldn't do it without you. You are everything. So thank you.
Thank you. Really quickly, I'm just going to plug the Vintage House Show podcast. every Wednesday night, 10 p.m. Central, WNUR, and wherever you download your favorite podcast. Our super duper executive producer, Lauren Lowry. For those of you whose stories, which is also an important part of keeping this history and advancing the culture and the genre, please invite yourself onto the show. We're happy to have you tell your stories, and we're capturing these first-person narratives. So no one, your story is your story, and we love telling it and having you share it with us. So please come on down and join us, and I'm gonna ask Terry to close us out.
And I just want to thank you guys for having me being here on the first opening of this dope exhibit. Make sure you guys tell somebody, like, this is Navy Pier, it's coming into the summer. Like, let's not come to these events every now and then. Bring somebody down here, show them the pictures, tell them the stories. I think it's very important. And I just want to commend all of you guys, Chicago, like the support that has been going on in this city for the last few years is truly amazing. And I'm gonna say this, going back to the Grammys from working with two of the biggest artists in the world and representing Chicago. And that's what my plea and my speech has been. It's been about Chicago. It's not about anything else. And we're gonna bring that trophy home, but just to you guys, I'm saying that not for you to, or some egotistical standpoint, but look at where we're at. We're in the rooms now. We're on another level now. And so we're trying to usher in new people that's gonna be able to get those Grammys and those nominations that's from this city. So it's just support, man, and thank you guys for all the love. It's been amazing, honestly.
All right, we're gonna start here. I think we got some music. Can we play a little bit? Yes.
Your password.
I gotta do something.
Yeah.
I gotta log in. All right, well, please enjoy yourself. We don't have food, but there's plenty here.
All right. Thank
All right,
you,
y'all.
y'all.
Thank you again. Thank you guys.
Thanks.